Hello everyone, I'm Guillaume Alvarez and this is the Racebox Show to keep you informed with the latest from the world of karting. We got plenty of material for you today. First, we're going to check out a couple of news, then we're going to review the kickoff of the Rock Cup USA in Miami, Florida with nice feature footage and onboard videos, and the start of the 2019 WSK season with the Champions Cup last weekend in Adria, Italy, as well with nice footage and onboard videos, and to conclude with a preview of the round 1 of the WSK Supermaster Series coming up this week. Before we start, if you missed the previous episodes of this program, they are now available on the YouTube channel of the Racebox. Don't forget also to go check out our latest publications on the racebox.com, including a full report of the Champions Cup for Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Elsewhere in the news, we learned that the interest for the DKM German Karting Championship is booming, with up to 166 drivers entering the 2019 season. The rise is especially obvious in the shifter class, to a point where the organizers have decided to extend the entry list from 38 to 51 drivers. And to guarantee enough track time for everyone, the field will be actually split into 2 groups after the heats, with the 17 best drivers qualified for the final. The first round of the season will take place in Lonato, Italy from February 12 to 14, and if you want to know more about the series, go to racebox.com to check out our preview. Also, if you followed last weekend's WSK Champions Cup in Adria, you might have noticed a slight change in the livery of the Rosberg Racing Academy. The program, still in partnership with Kart Republic, has parted ways with the Green Petronas and joined forces with a new sponsor, the Yellow and Blue Ravenol, a German brand specialized in oil and lubricants used in motor racing. The drivers wearing those new colors in 2019 will be Telo Barnard and Hans Seyu Inoue, plus the young driver from Italy, Andrea Kimi Antonelli Inoue Jr. Last weekend, the karting exhibition of Offenbach in Germany was the scene of a few interesting announcements. First, Rotax presented a brand new event, the Rotax Max Challenge International Trophy, to be organized at the end of August on the prestigious venue of Le Mans in France. This new event is open to all nationalities and categories, with special prizes to be collected. First, and for instance, the winners of each class will get a ticket for the grand finals in Sarno, the runner-ups will receive a complete Rotax engine, and drivers in third place a special discount voucher. Finally, the TB Racing team, which won last year's FIA Karting European Hockey Championship with Hannes Janke, has presented a new partnership with McLaren and Door Motorsport to run the McLaren Customer Driving School. This is a new entity with the goal of competing in different international events in 2019 with 3 different drivers, Hannes Janke, Hugo Sasse and Ben Door. We'll bring you some more information about this, so stay tuned to the racebox.com. Now here we go for a first review of today's show. Last week we talked about the kickoff of the winter series of the Superkart USA on the Homestead Miami circuit. That's a good occasion to fly back to Florida for the start of another important national calendar, the Rock Cup USA powered by Vortex engines. The Florida Winter Tour was held a few days ago in the Hard Rock Stadium of Miami with 10 classes on track, tires provided by Bridgestone and engines produced by Vortex, Yamaha and Briggs & Stratton. There was an interesting change in the regulation with the introduction of the pushback bumper that is now required on the front fairing of all the chassis in every class for the entire Rock Cup USA season, except for the shifter Briggs categories. This is a new rule decided by the promoter to make racing cleaner on track. And if you're wondering, the footage that you just saw was brought to you by Johnny Johnson from Kart360 and Rock Cup USA. Now, let's go for a tour around the Hard Rock Stadium circuit on board Colin Daly with the voice of Jake Sanson.
Let's run around the South Garda layout at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, Florida, with Colin Daly of Jamaica. Hardcore fans will know the layout if they know Lonato, but it's dustier, bumpier, and very tricky on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. You need to stay as tight to the apex as you would in Italy, but you need your wits about you. The kart will snap away very easily as the back end of the kart tries to overtake the front. You need to flirt with the apex of each corner whilst being much more cautious on exit. You don't have the curbs on either side to protect you and catch the kart, just the barriers. It's all about rhythm here, and you need to keep the kart neat and tidy throughout on such a short lap around the circuit. But as you can see, Colin Daly is well in control on a pretty special lap. You come up to those final 3 hairpins through the right, you can use a bit of curb here on the way into the left-hander, get the kart kicked out nicely, then through that final hairpin, back on the power, and a beautiful lap around the Hard Rock Stadium.
Thank you, Colin, that felt very good indeed. Now, let's have a look at the results and start with the Briggs 206 Junior class, in which the victory went to the Canadian driver Gianluca Savaglio, with a similar result for two of his fellow countrymen, Jordan Priaulx and Michael Hoben, first and third in the senior class. Another small category, the 100cc Junior, was won by lady driver Chloe Chambers. In the seniors, one of the most successful classes of the weekend with 34 names on track, Christian Brooks dominated the final race, in which Juan Pablo Montoya's son Sebastian just missed the podium for 0.2 of a second. Like its older sister, the junior class got its fill of drivers with 40 names on the entry list. Luca Mars was finally proclaimed the winner of a crazy race that Brett Cruz won in the first place before he was penalized for pushing his bumper back. In the gearbox category, the Shifter Rock smiled upon A.J. Myers, with interestingly Antonio Pizzonia, a former F1 driver for Williams, arriving in 6th position, and Pedro Piquet, the son of triple F1 world champion Nelson Piquet, coming home in 12th. In the rest of the results, the Shifter Master victory went to Victor Jimenez, with Renato David being the fastest of all in the Masters. Vice champion of last year Kai Sorensen won the mini class, and finally Beckham Jassir and Enzo Vidmantiek made an American 1-2 in Micro Rock. So that was our first review of the 2019 Rock Cup USA. A big thank to our colleague Colin Schindel from Canadian Karting News for the photos. For a full summary of this event, go to theracebox.com, where you can find everything you need to know before the next round of the Florida Winter Tour from February 14 to 17, once again in the Hard Rock Stadium of Miami. And to conclude, here's a nice piece of video made by Christian Marsh, and that you can find on the DRT Racing Team Facebook page. Now let's move to Adria International Raceway in northern Italy for the WSK Champions Cup of last weekend, and thanks to Lorenzo Trovisanuto, you get to know what the circuit looks like. Here we are on board the 2018 FIA Karting World Champion around the 1.3 km of the Adria circuit, commented for you by Jake Sanson.
Time for a flying lap around the Adria circuit on board with the reigning world champion Lorenzo Trovisanuto. Down the main straight and under the bridge, 130 kilometers an hour flying through turn 1, keep it flat through the right, a little bit of curb on the exit, brake, but keep the kart travelling as much as you can. The rhythm is important through 2, you spit the kart out into the left-hander with a little bit of a jerk, now floor it, you can use the curb on the exit through the right kink, then into the hairpin. Take care on the inside apex, don't hit the curb, back on the power, up towards the right-hander, just a little dab of the throttle, then back on the power to get the kart straightened up into the hairpin. Very tight braking, a very tight apex too. Now you come back through the left, you've got to be delicate on the throttle, a little bit of curb on the exit, back on the next left, and then another tight right hairpin. You're up to the final section of the course now, you keep the kart flat to the throttle through the left, brake, a little bit of a dab, keep the kart planted, back on the straight, and you're over the line. What a lap at Adria. Nice one, Travi.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo, that was very impressive. With 168 drivers, 3 categories, the OK, the OK Junior and the 60 Mini, 5 engine manufacturers being TM, Vortex, Yamaha, Elki and Modena, 2 tire providers, Vega and Bridgestone, all conditions were met for a great event on track. In the OK class, Sunday turned into a walk in the park for Taylor Barnard. First, the young British driver won the pre-final in the morning before dominating the final in the afternoon from start to finish. And this is a strong start of 2019 for the Rosberg Racing protégé, who had concluded the 2018 season as well on a very high note by winning the WSK Final Cup on the same track of Adria, where he seems to have found his feet. The second place in the OK final went to one of his strongest opponents from 2018 season, the Italian driver Gabriele Mini, in front of his fellow countryman Christian Commanducci. Talking about about Italian drivers. Lorenzo Tozzanuto faced a troublesome weekend on home soil after he was forced to start from 25th on the final grid because he did not finish in the pre-final. But the new HTP driver is no world champion by chance, and he cruised through the field at light speed in the first lap before unfortunately being stuck in 10th place until the finish line. In the juniors, the pressure was high until the last meters of the final, won by the Irish driver Alex Dunn with his teammate Arvid Lindblad completing the 1-2 for Forza Racing, and in third place Thomas Tenbrike beating last year's Champions Cup winner in the mini class Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Finally, the Italian driver Andrea Filaferro won the highly contested 60 mini class in front of his fellow countrymen Francesco Marenghi and Rashid Al-Daheri, completing the podium after the pole sitter Maxim Orlov was hit by trouble in the very last lap and finished in 8th position. As usual, you can find more details about the last weekend's WSK Champions Cup results in our detailed report published on theracebox.com. So the 2019 season of the WSK is now underway, and the next round is coming up very fast already this weekend with the round 1 of the Supermaster Series once again in Adria. This is the first of a 4-round series that will take teams and drivers around all Italy from January to March, starting with Adria, then Lonato, La Conca, and finally Insano. Like for the Champions Cup last weekend, still no KZ2 as they will appear for the first time at South Garda at the end of February, but the 3 main categories OK, OK Junior and 60 Mini. Regarding the schedule, it doesn't change much from the Champions Cup with, as usual, the qualifying opening the program on Friday, a lot of qualifying heats, 31 in total from Friday until Saturday night, and finally the Sunday reserved for pre-finals, finals B and finals. All this information and more you can find on the racebox.com, and to help you follow the round 1 of the WSK Supermaster Series in a couple of days in Adria, a special page will be created on this website with live timing available on Friday and Saturday and live streaming brought to you by WSK Promotion for Sunday's finals. So already time to conclude the Racebox show. Once again, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel of the Racebox and don't hesitate to follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.